Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to show you how to set up a Rust custom server. That's right, they're finally here for Rust Console Edition for the PlayStation 4, the Xbox One, next generations, and everything in between. Okay, so real fast, we have this video chopped up into two major parts, and I know it's a bit backwards, a bit cart before the horse, if you will, but we do have this video chopped up into chapters so you can jump around easily when you need to. If you're a first-time user, you're going to need to know all of these things, as adminning and setup is definitely going to be a thing you need to know. So our first section is going to be adminning, second part is going to be the setup, and again, you can always jump around using the chapters here on YouTube. It's by the playhead, or if you're confused or your version of YouTube doesn't have it, you can always hit the description, and there should be time codes there as well to help you navigate. Also, to future-proof this video, because they've been making so many additions and changes to all of this stuff, if we have more additions to this, it should be a pinned comment video just below this video. So be on the lookout for that. If we have any information or an actual video, it will reside there. Okay, so before we do any of this, obviously you have to be an admin before you do anything, and we'll cover this more in depth in the server setup portion. But it is worth noting that you do have to add yourself as an admin, and you probably want to add yourself as a VIP as well, or else you'll be in the queue for quite some time. You'll need to do that before we do any of this stuff here inside of the game. Obviously, you can't get to the admin panel unless you're an admin. Duh. Okay, so what's really crazy is there is a secret menu for this. Once you are an admin, you can hit a secret button combination, so Y and A on Xbox. Ooh. Or if you're on PlayStation, it's X and triangle at the same time once you're an admin. Or, now you've got a place to do it. It's a bit more convoluted here. You go to admin, then options, then admin, open admin control. Many different ways to do the same thing. And this is where you turn on G mode, vanish, and no clip. Notice I did turn off the G mode because I would have gotten wrecked. But these are very useful. Again, we'll cover some more of these best practice type things, but if you're going to be moving around or spectating people who are coming in and out of, it's usually best to vanish and G mode yourself so you don't interfere with people's gameplay. Just a nice, friendly heads up. Okay, so moving through the list here, we have server time. That's pretty self-explanatory. You hit that, it takes a few seconds for it to catch, and that's a server change for everybody. Spectate's really nice. It's a fantastic tool to hone in and find those stinky cheaters, whether they're scripting or using mouse and keyboard. You can randomly switch between players with A and X. That's not bad if you're just doing spot checking, but if you need a more finite way of spectating people, there is a better way to do it. But also inside of here, you can go to a third person, zoom in and out. The first person is probably the most useful, I think, when you are collecting data on cheaters. And again, if you're trying to ban or find out if somebody's using mouse and keyboard, I would suggest, and again, you can run your server any way you want, collecting many points of data, both here on the spectate mode, reports, and then other pieces of data to make sure that they are cheating. I would never just ban off of one piece of information. That's probably, probably goes without saying, but I'm going to say it. Okay, so we have the, we can hide the spectate menu. If I hold B, I can pop out. And the player list is probably the best way to go in and spectate someone. Just go to connected, then you can go here and then go to the left one time, then you can spectate. If they're alive, you're able to spectate them. If they're not, it'll just skip to the next person. It'll tell you who they are there in the upper left-hand corner there, which says spectate. Very, very useful. So anybody who's on that gear is probably going, oh man. I'd be like, yeah, we see. Okay, let's see. We've got, that's another big piece here. Okay, so we have the item list panel. Check this out. We've got all the different items in the game. They're also categorized as well. We've got different menu options here. We have give one, give max stack, and I would be very careful here because one slip and you can actually spawn it to everybody on the server, and then one more slip and you can spawn it a whole stack to the whole server. Now, if it's something like a bandage, not a big deal. But if you do something like, I don't know, C4, that can be quite disruptive to your economy. And maybe that's what your server's about, and in that case, go for it. But you can see how much chaos this can do right here. Just one flick past spawning it for yourself, you can spawn it for the whole server. Here, I'll demonstrate it as we go through this option here. Look, I just gave that to everybody. Don't worry, this is towards the end of the wipe for us. But watch how many smokes come out here just out of nowhere. It can really disrupt things if you don't mean to. Watch, probably nobody noticed, and nobody's going to throw it. Man, all right, well, we'll see more planes here in a second for sure. All right, so back to the items here. It's got every item inside of the game, which is very, very useful. You can also search, but I find the categories a bit easier when you're using a controller, obviously. Then we have the open command list. This is very... Oh, we already got some takers? Thought I heard it play. In the admin panel here, it says open command list panel. Now, there is an option to plug in a keyboard legitimately for typing, and it does not control a character at all, so it's really good for doing things like adminning here. Once you enter command, oh, people noticed, you can do things like, actually, let me go down low. What am I doing? So if you need to know who owns something or a sleeping bag, this is extremely useful. You can type in a lot of commands here, by the way. Notice this guy doesn't see me because I'm vanished. Nice. So let's say we caught a cheater or something, right? Like this guy isn't a cheater, but let's say we needed to know who owned the base, right? This is a great place. This is essentially the console panel on PC. So I could type in something like ent space who, and then it shows me who placed it. But check this out. It gets even better. I have to hit X on my controller. I type in ent space info. Ready for this? Boom, dude. This shows you the ID, the building, the creator, oldest entity, newest entity, and check this. How many people own different tiles on this structure? So no one can run it past you. So if someone's like, this was my base, you'd be like, brother, you don't own a square on this base. What are you talking about? It's really, really useful for finding cheaters, people's sleeping bags, or helping people out. Like sometimes the server glitches, you know, and like maybe you need to let somebody in. There's still some hiccups here and there, so it can be very, very useful. Oh, remember when I said if you spawn the wrong thing? Look what's happening now. You see what I'm talking about? So if you spawn a whole stack of C4, you get the idea. It's okay. We run a purge event at the end of our wipe here, so this is actually part of it, but this is controlled chaos. But can you imagine doing this at the beginning of your wipe and you didn't want to do this? You can really break the economy. So protect it at all costs. Again, you can run your server any way you desire, but just a nice way to kind of conduct yourself. What would they call that? Best practice in the business world. All right, what's another really fancy one that we like to use here? All right, check this out. And again, you can type these inside of the G Portal console as well, but these I think translate better to the in-game console portion. And yes, you can add VIPs and stuff here as well. These same commands can be typed in through that custom command we just saw here. But again, you can't be an admin until you're added, so you need to do that on G Portal first. And it's also worth noting, and I'm sure I'll bring this up again, it's best to have some type of web browser when you're doing this. I know a lot of people don't have computers, and that's fine, but we actually all have computers because we all have phones pretty much, right? So I would say make sure you have a web browser access if you're on PlayStation or Xbox. I think, okay, so just real fast, if I could go on a rant here for a second. PlayStation 5 killed their web browser abilities, which really, really sucks. Because then you can't do stuff like this, which is like legitimate adminning and stuff. So, like, I think the PS4 still supports web browsing, but again, it's best to use your phone or an old tablet or something. If you can use a web browser inside of your console, go for it. Because really having both of these, both the admin panel in the game and also the G Portal panel, is very, very useful. Dare I say, you kind of need them both. I guess you could technically navigate without it, but it's pretty rough. Anyways, what was I going on a rant about? Oh, yeah. So if you wanted to do a command like this, oops, I'm sorry, that's not right. It's this one. Yeah, there we go. We got it. All right, so I'm going to bring this up and type it on my keyboard. So if I go to this command list, I would type in something like, this is how you can force an event to go. So if I type in events, trigger, event, space, event, underscore, and then what is it? Cargo heli. And here's what it looks like on my screen. Manually triggered the Chinook, essentially, is what we just did. And so if we look on the map, we can see the Chinook entering the board. So it's a really cool way to kind of spicing things up on your server if you want to have more events going on. Typically, we do this kind of stuff on our server. We like to do like loot events, drop a bunch of drops, do a bunch of things, observe, kind of get the economy going, but nothing too game breaking. But, you know, many different ways you can do this. You can also activate cargo ship in the same fashion. Some commands I would be a little bit leery of. Be careful with some of these if you don't understand them, because they can be quite destructive, such as... where is it? Is it like, it's delete entity by? I think it's all. Would it be like entity delete by? Again, great command if you're trying to take out a cheater, but this basically removes all entities that that player placed. So if you're not sure, you can do some major damage. Again, this is a command we like to use when we do find cheaters. That removes everything they've ever placed on the server, but it leaves like their little loot pouches behind. Let me show you an example. So we had some people over here. I just need to find a husk of a base. Again, this is something you would use against a cheater. I think that, yeah, this has already been ransacked. So let's say a cheater was here and you're like, look, I don't know where else he is, but I know he was in this base and I can delete this base, and you only want to delete the base. Here's a little command that's not actively out there in the wild yet. So go to your command panel. Again, I have to do this with my controller. Now I can type in, let's see if I can remember this. It's ent destroy building. It tells you how many and what the building number was. Very useful. It takes a little bit of time. So anything that had a TC and associated to it is a quote-unquote building. So that's going to be deleted, but all the other entities this player placed, sleeping bags, stashes, will stay. So this is a way to do it in a building fashion. The other way by entity delete by is by the player's all placed objects, essentially. And it'll keep decaying here over time. It just takes a little bit. So very, very useful when you're getting rid of the old stinkies. I don't know if we covered the console log. It's another way to kind of see that list. Those are the major ones. The who and the info are really, really nice. And that ent space destroy building is good. So remember, it's wherever you're facing, so be very deliberate when you're doing it. Okay, let's go to the player menu here. I don't know if we covered this. No, we didn't. Okay, so some more options inside of here are kind of tucked away. When you hit start and go to options, you have like these different helicopter spawn commands. You can spawn on a player, which is immediate. You can spawn on me, which is also immediate. Call to me comes off the board, and then spawning the helicopter comes off the board. Sometimes these can glitch and be a little aggressive. So if you wanted to spawn in a helicopter and let it organically seek out baddies, these are the two ways to do it. These are very aggressive. Like, watch, this is going to be on top of me. Those drops are still happening. That's wild. Look how many drops are happening over there. Anyways, let's see what else we have here. So if you hit start and go to admin, whoops, you can't wreck yourself if you're an admin, can you? Broadcast message, this is server wide. Here, we'll type this in here. I'm using my keyboard. The purge is on. If we go back here, you can see a server wide message. Again, having a keyboard to legitimately type and do these types of admin activities is, I think, essential. Just a USB keyboard will work. And again, a perfect example of using the gear legitimately and not cheating. Okay, let's see. We have one more in here, I believe. Here's a really important piece of this. The inbox. Now, again, I wouldn't ban people just based off of one piece of information here. You know, because some people just cloud this up a bit. But this can help you get started. These definitely do help. So, like, anytime somebody does a report on your server, it goes right to the admins or the server owner or both. But these definitely help the admins get the ball rolling. You can definitely spot check and find cheaters, but this will really help you kind of weed them out. And a lot of times you just go here and then start to observe them if you need to. It's very, very useful. And then once you can take action from here. This is really nice too. So if they're offline, you can just do whatever. I actually banned this guy earlier. You got different options here. So like you could ban them. Communication banned from server. You have the option for 6 hours, a week, or permanent, or 24 hours rather. So if you kind of want to do that. But this guy was definitely using gear earlier. He was definitely on mouse and keyboard. So he actually got permanent banned. So he's out of here. I can confirm that. I saw him do it. So that's cool. So it actually keeps track of all those things there. So if they're offline, it's just a quick way to do it. Also, if you want to ban somebody, you can use the same command here. But it is a bit easier to do it on gportal's command. Once you have this command line here, you can do the same thing with like the what is it, banning stuff. Anyways, I think we have almost all of this. Let me just double, triple check here. A lot of stuff to cover. I've done so many takes on this. I just want to make sure we get it, you know. Let's see. Did we do the teleport stuff? I don't know if we did. If we go here, I can actually teleport to this person. You can also increase rolls. Be careful when you're teleporting. You can either go to them or bring them to you. Oopsie. I actually brought them to me. That was the wrong one. My bad, dude. My bad. My bad. I did not mean to do that. That was my fault, sir. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, see, there you go. I messed it up. Good thing it's the wipe, right? I just teleport this guy out of his base. Had the most jarring experience of his life. Yeah, don't do that. That's bad. Okay, I think that's a pretty good example. Yes, my goodness. You can also promote people here as well. I like to do that inside of the portal. I guess that's kind of a thing. Warning's really nice because you kind of let them know, like, hey, I saw you, or you use really nasty language, and it shows up when they join the server. It's a big, big message. So it's very nice. You can also disable their communication, kick them directly, or block the player. Very, very nice. Very active, very useful piece of the admin is the players in game, I believe. Okay, so we also have the combat log too. I think we covered that a little bit. Again, it's nice to help you know, dial things in a bit. Okay, so I think we're ready to do the server setup portion. So let's go ahead and pop over there. I feel so bad I teleported out and got that guy. So for us on Xbox, yes, Microsoft Edge, nobody uses it, but at least we have a browser, which is nice. This will be a bit slow, but hopefully this helps out. So the way this is it's G-Portal for us to start. Again, all of this starts November 30th, 2023 for all of us, and I think it's around like 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Once you set up an account and you purchase a Rust Console Edition server, and again, they're all 100 slots, and as you can see, we had 100 man, and it's maxed out, so obviously this is incorrect. But once you come in here, I guess I'm going to cover the biggest gotcha out of the server setup stuff. Once you have all of your settings and you're like ready to bring it online, once you have it online here, or restart it, or you save your options, the server's going to restart. And when it does that, it takes a good 10 to 15 minutes for it to come online. And you kind of know by checking your console portion here. So if you hit the little sandwich button there, because it lands you on the status page here, which is nice. You can do things like do wipes and full wipes and stuff. But the real beef is over here by the sandwich stack. Status, basic settings, logs, and console. The console part will show you where the build sequence is at. Now, you'll see a bunch of these like build, procedural, meshes. That literally takes 15 to 10 minutes. And here's what's so crazy about it is while this is running, you'll see your server show up on the list. You can even join it, but it gets stuck on load because it's not done building. So just remember, once you make a change or restart or reset or whatever, give it time for it to build. You start to know when it's active because you'll see stuff like this. See how it says like so-and-so Xbone entered, so-and-so PS4 entered. That's how you know it's up and running. So don't be alarmed if you're like, hey, I'm stuck on the loading screen. Just give it a little bit more time. It's still building. Oh, actually, you probably can't see that. Now you can. So this is actively showing you all the stuff that's happening on your server. But what's really great is this is the command line here as well. I guess, yeah, we'll cover this in a minute, but it's just important to know, like, once you do the build and you have what you like and you save, just give it the proper amount of time to do the build. All right, back to the sandwich. Let's go to the log is kind of like the console, but you can't enter anything. This gives you like a rundown. I guess you can download the file, which is kind of cute, but yeah, it's just another way to kind of view some of the information that's coming through. You get to see all kinds of data. All right, so this is the heart and soul of things here. We're going to show you how we set up our server, and you know, and you guys can build it any way you desire. And we'll try to explain the stuff that were stuff that is a bit more. It was kind of a gotcha for us. So we have big categories here. We've got map presets, map settings, world, NPC, player, items, events, and gameplay. We'll start with these server settings. This here is the name of the server. This is what shows up on the list itself. So when you see this list here, that's what shows up. And oddly enough, when you make these changes, and I'll just make a fake change here. We'll put a period or something here. You see at the bottom of the screen that's showing discard or change. I'm sorry, discard or save. Hello, I can't read. If I were to save this, even though it's just the title, it actually restarts the server. And I currently have a full grid and a full pop. So we got max Q and max pop right now. So this would be very disruptive. So you want to make sure you have all of these things sorted out ahead of time. So anytime you see the save button, it's going to initiate a restart. Not on progression, but it restarts the server. And if you have a lot of people in the queue, they're going to be very mad if they waited 6 hours, 2 hours to get in your server, and then all of a sudden they had to go back and wait again. That's why if I know I'm doing something disruptive here, I try to make the announcement as much as possible. Now, are there moments where G-Portal or Double 11 might force a restart? Yeah, that's out of your control, but when you can do this, just keep it tight. So I would say discard changes so you don't disrupt the server, but just know that even changing this name here, as soon as you see that save dialog box, it's going to restart you. Password is self-explanatory. Nobody can join unless they have a password. Platform is just that. You can do crossplay Xbox crossplay just Xbox or just PlayStation. Welcome message is when people join for the first time, which is a little kind of a misnomer because it says first time joined message. That's different. This is like the server message, let's call it. And again, any changes to this are going to restart your server. So again, figure out what that's going to be. These down here are cool if that's what you want to do, but if you have any semblance of normal gameplay, I would leave these blanks. Here's why. First time joined, these are different states. It literally will say when somebody joins or leaves. And as you know on Rust, if you leave, most people are going to find your base and then raid you. If you're, like I said, if you have any semblance of a normal server, you probably don't want that. If you're an admin, you probably don't want to announce when you're online. But there are moments when you're invisible, but anyways. Rage quit is when they shut off the game. Admins when you join as an admin. Left message is when they leave. Basically, the left message is, hey, you can offline raid me now. Yeah, I said it. Just join message or first time joining message. And again, if you have a different type of server like PvE, these totally make sense. All right, so in here we have admin broadcast. Once enabled, admin actions will be broadcasted. I'd recommend against it. The whitelist is kind of a misnomer because people think that's VIP. Think of whitelist as the invitation. So the server is like invitation only, essentially. So you have to put them on a list. So if you want VIP, you don't want this enabled. So just keep that in mind. Custom boot commands weren't working for me initially. I think if we have things like recyclers and stuff, I think maybe that's where these will go in the future. There'll be a separate video on how to do the recyclers because it's a bit involved. But I believe that's where some of that stuff is going to go. This is kind of interesting. I have mine a bit high so people can't spam. Player reports cooldown. That's when people use the in-game report system. I have it at 20 minutes because we have our servers maxed out. All right, moving down to map presets. This shows you what kind of map you would like. And these are, as they said, presets. And what's really neat is you can select the monuments that you would like to have on here. Now, it's not always a guarantee because it tries to fit as much as it possibly can with the seed preset or the space available because you can make the map smaller if you want to. So sometimes, not sometimes, it's always good to check your map to make sure you have all the monuments that you do want to. Because the procedural stuff is based off of like, hey, does it fit? Okay, I'm going to try to fit it on the map. But get this. We can also do seeds now, actually proc-gen servers. And our current server now is a seed. So again, I would strongly recommend that you build it, check it first, and then make sure it's there. Because sometimes you may be missing an outpost or a bandit camp. And here's where you can select your monuments. Also, double, triple check these as well. Oh, here we go. And look at that. That's weird. Look at that. Is that a junkyard? I wonder what a particular update that would be joined to. And then we have other things like raidable bases, which is really interesting. I think that's a game type that they're thinking about adding for us. Maybe like a base invaders. We'll kind of have to wait and see how all of that shakes out. But very, very interesting stuff. So you can really, really customize what you want here, and it gives you a little peek into the future, yes? And down here, if I have things correct, you can also do your offshore monuments. And yes, if you didn't pay attention, there are multiple monuments for the cargo ship, the transport and the military version. So one with cargo crates and the one with like Bradley and the Chinook on top. A large oil rig or a small oil rig. And yes, this is where Sea Labs would go as well. Interesting. Anyways, moving downward. Here we've got the different populations. So the rib populations, what it sounds like, the maximum amount of naturally spawning ribs. It's at 0 because you can purchase these at the fishing villages. And so if you didn't have any fishing villages, you would want these to spawn randomly. Again, these are all the default values right now for all servers. Rowboat population, maximum amount of naturally spawning rowboats. That does occur naturally. The decay rate outside, and that's in minutes. A decay rate in deep water. And the start delay decay for rowboats, 45 minutes. And these are interesting settings. Again, if you want to do something more spicy like PvE or just build, you can turn off building stability altogether, and so you can make some wild stuff. It's actually quite nice. You can turn off the stability. Radiation, same thing. You can turn off radiation zones and progressive time. So you can essentially, you don't have a day-night cycle. It just freezes time. And then if you do have progress time, this is your day length, and this is your your night length. NPCs, NPC thinking, once enabled, they patrol, move, and shoot back. NPC navigation, they move around. NPCs ignoring players. Again, all of these are default here. Okay, so a lot of people are like, hey, I want more loot, so I'm going to jack this up. These are all standard rates here. If you want to increase loot, there's another place to do it. So junk pile spawn chance is at 0.1, default setting. Bear population, also default setting. Maximum amount of naturally spawning bears. And then boar population is the same. Again, if you get these too high, you can make the server a bit unstable for some of the core systems. So just keep that in mind. You can tweak these, just don't go ham with it is what I'm saying. Chicken population, same idea. Stag, horse population, and wolf population. Down to player settings, we have Immortal Server. Once enabled, players can't take damage from anything. PvE is players cannot take damage from other players. Infinite ammo, this will be nice if you're doing some sort of arena or aim training type thing. Players will have infinite ammo, which is really cool. Full starting magazine, also in line with events or things like aim training, is exactly what it sounds like. The magazines come in full. And we have some more tweaks here for player maximum health, player max starting health, and then player minimum starting health. And then the big stuff is right under here. This is called maximum team size. I've covered this before. This is worth mentioning. This is a system in place, and it's going to make more sense here in a second. So our maximum team size is limiting building authorization, limits the maximum amount of authorized players to tool cupboards to the maximum team size. Same idea here with the turrets, limits the maximum amount of authorized players to turrets to the maximum team size. And here's the big one, limit team locks. Code locks are disabled and key locks are team-wide. Here's how these work too. It's wooden locks and they get rid of the code locks themselves. So you have to be on a team and that's how it knows who's where and who can open a door. So that way you can't be like, hey, here's my code to my base. So if you're ever a solo and you're like, I can't remove my locks, make a team for yourself, then you can remove it. Or if you're having that problem on your server and you need to have people remove their own locks, that's how you do it if you have limited team size. It's been quite nice. Excuse me. Okay, here's some gathering stuff. Items. No starting items. Once enabled, a player will not have any starting items, so rock and torch. Enable Builder's Paradise items, so I think it's like 5,000 stacks of resources, hammer, paper, TC, and like clothing. Enable Target Practice items, same idea there, like a full fighting kit. Free crafting, players are able to craft anything for free. And instant crafting, there's no timer when you craft. Unlock all blueprints, we do have that for our server. Players will have access to all blueprints. So basically all components and scrap are used for purchasing, building, materials, weapons. So you get right to fighting. Workbench override. Override the need for certain workbench level for crafting items. If you have it set to 2, players can craft level 2 workbench items without a level 2. If it's -1, that's the standard progression. Stackable size scale. Here's how this works. Let's say you have 1,000 stone. And this is a multiplier. If I set this to 2, you can now put 2,000 stone. It's awesome. But it also, if you're doing it, this is for everything. If you have 2,000 stone, think about it. Your TC now has a larger radius for upkeep, so you can get some massive buildings. So this affects, it's great if you have a higher gathering rate, but it can also affect the type of buildings that are being put down. So for us, we clamped this down because the buildings got pretty huge, even for duos. Gathering scale is what it sounds like. This is a scale for gathering the amount of items when harvested, and here's what you want if you need more loot. It says scale the amount of loot received. So that's even better. So yeah, you don't want to go too crazy with these. I want to say like game breaking starts to approach the 5x level. I think they clamped them all at 3. I could be wrong. Like I said, there's a lot of changes here. Down here it says disable item damage. That's essentially durability. So everything is invincible. Back to events here, or not back to, we're on events. Enable helicopter to target players. So basically hostile helicopters. We have bullet accuracy. These are all default settings here. Bullet damage scale is at 1. Enable Sir Bradley of the Round Table. Bradley respawn delay is at 60 minutes. Locked crate decay is at seconds, 7,200 seconds. Again, default. And locked crate time to unlock, so when you actually hit the computer, that's 900 seconds, which is 15 minutes. I had to really think about that for a second. Gameplay, we have building demolish time. This is the cementing phase. So when you craft things and then like, hey, You can't destroy it anymore or rotate it. That's what this timer is. That's the standard time. Demolish hammer, if you played Builder's Paradise, you know what that is. Swat it with the hammer and it breaks. Free upgrading, same thing as Builder's Paradise. Doesn't cost anything for upgrading, and this one is also free construction. And then we have some more tweaks here. Bullet damage, these are all standard. Change the amount of damage that bullets do. We have bleed damage 1, arrow damage 1, melee 1, decay scale 1. The amount of decay building blocks have, excuse me. Decay upkeep. Once enabled, players will need to upkeep building blocks. I can tell you, like, again, you can set up your server any way you want, but I played the old days Rust where we did not have upkeep. The buildings get stupid big. So if you want that, turn it off. If you want this more standard type gameplay, I would say leave this on. It's a good thing, I promise. Upkeep grief protection. After a tool cupboard is destroyed, change the amount of time the upkeep resource lasts before disappearing. Decay tick. The amount of time it takes for building blocks to need the upkeep. And these are nice if people are trying to forcefully code rage you. Code lock max failed attempts is 8, and then code lockout cooldown 900. These are all the standard values down here. So yeah, that's how we have our server set up. Let me see if we got a few more tweaks here. Again, once you make any of these changes, it's going to ask you to save it, and then the server is going to have to restart. If you do change your seed, let me actually bring it over here. If you change the seed or change preset, it does wipe the server. Keep that in mind. So you really want to leave these alone when your server is currently active. And I would strongly recommend, once you're picking these and you've got like your monuments and stuff and you save it, load into your server quickly and then make sure that that is the seed that you want. Like, make sure the monuments are there, because you may have to re-roll real fast because there's no way to actually check that seed for our type of procedural build yet. That would be a useful tool to have, not a come stream snipe your favorite streamer map search item inside of Discord, just saying. It's more of a anti-streamer tool. But yeah, it would be nice to actually have a searchable way to check the maps here, because then you have to load and then restart the server. And if you have a lot of people, that can be a bit on the upset side. Okay, so if you are just starting, I probably should hit this first. If you're like, hey, I bought the server, what do I need to do initially? Obviously, make all your selections here. Go to the console command here, and make sure that you add yourself as an admin. Make sure you're still an owner, and make sure you put yourself as a VIP. All of them, all of those commands are on the left-hand side. If I did this correctly, I might be able to do it like this. So like I would put in like admin ID, and then I put like, for me, oh, I got a good one for you. You guys will like this. So check it out. If I'm going to add myself, oh, actually, you can see that. That's quite nice. All right, so I know on PlayStation you guys don't have spaces. On Xbox, we do. So here's the problem. If you type this in, because you're going to have to deal with Xbox players and PlayStation players pretty much no matter what. Here's the thing. If you type this in as is, it's going to admin ID Jade and Monkey, but not me, Jade Monkey, right? Or actually, I think it's Supremacy. Whatever. What you're going to want to do here is you're going to want to put quotes around this bad boy. Actually, I don't think... So because we have a space, you're going to want to put quotes around it. Then it's going to add me as Jade Supremacy. Does that make sense? And watch, as I hit this, watch what happens. See how it says Jade Supremacy is already an admin? So that's nice too. So when we add VIPs and people are like, hey, did you get me? That's another good way to check it. Again, we're doing VIPs for all channel members. For our servers, when it fully releases, just become a member and look for the members only post, and be sure to reply with your PSN or Xbox Live gamer tag. Okay, so I think we have just a few more things here to cover. That's for the monuments and recycler stuff. We'll cover that later because it's a bit more involved. Also, back to this little item here. If somehow you've been waiting on your server and it's been roughly 20-30 minutes and you still can't connect, you can go here where it says verify gaming files. You see on the right hand side. If you get stuck there for over 20 minutes, you can actually verify the game files and then give it a restart and still keep all of your settings. I don't think we've ever had to do that, but let me show you where that's at. Just, I know when we first started, I was like, why isn't the server coming up? Why can't I join the server? You really just have to wait. So I think that's under basic settings, right? Or is that under status? It might be under status. There we go, verify game files. And also during wipe day, again, if you change your seed and then save it, it's going to wipe the board. But here's a nice way to do it. If you want to keep the seed, you can come here and actually do just a blueprint wipe if you're going to do that, or like a full wipe, but then like keep the seed. So these are also nice little shortcuts here. Here's the other thing. As of recording this, sometimes the backup feature is nice, by the way, but the problem is sometimes it messes up the team IDs. I hope that's fixed in time for the actual release, because that can be a bit crazy. So if you have like an automatic backup time, basically it's going to break all teams, and if you have like restricted teams, it can get a little wild. So just keep that in mind. We'll keep you updated on this one here. For the most part, everything's been really stable. I think you guys are really going to enjoy this. It's been a blast. We've been actively running these servers for 3 weeks, and it has literally been to the brim all day, every day. Not only like full population, but we're talking like maximum queue all the time. It's nuts. I think you guys are really going to like this. I can't wait to see what other people build with this, and hopefully we'll see you on our server, and we'll be popping into other people's servers and checking out other people's configurations. So